56 days of the most extraordinary public inquiry in recent history will end on Monday. It produced the unprecedented sight of a senior officer in the Metropolitan Police apologising to the family of Stephen Lawrence. Well, we're joined now by Mike Bennett of the Police Federation, by Inspector Paul Wilson of the Black Police Association, by Barry Mussenden of the Stephen Lawrence Family Campaign, and by Neville Lawrence, Stephen's father. Barry Mussenden, what is your perception of things? I mean, is this problem with extreme racist groups within the white community getting worse?
I wouldn't say getting worse, but we have to be careful how we describe them as groups. These suspects in the Lawrence case, they're not organised fascists, they're not part of a party or an organised group in that sense. They're local white youths from the estates that had very racist views. And to me that is generally the case in racial harassment across the country, that probably 5% may be organised fascists and the other 95% are racist, unaffiliated, but very dangerous, as we've seen in Stephen's case.
Now, there are laws which are going to be enacted or come into effect in the autumn in the Crime and Disorder Bill, which will make racial motivation in a number of crimes a specific offence. Inspector Wilson, is that going to make any difference?
It may assist, but I think what the Lawrence inquiry and the tragedy has done is really highlight the issues around racism. And I agree with my friend here that there is a real issue of racism in this society that must be addressed. It's institutional racism. It's present. It's in the media. It's in the way we look at black people on the TV, the lack of black role models in society, the lack of black judges. I mean, this has really been highlighted as an issue, and it just keeps stoking the negative stereotype of black people.
I think when you look at that issue, you can't think about legislation alone as resolving it, because while symbolically, yes, to have a law against racism would be something to recognise it, so you know it's a reality in society. In Stephen's case, it was murder. Murder was the charge. You can't get a more serious charge than that. And even then, with the law being strong around murder, at least, we didn't get a conviction.
The problem is that here you've got four people, none of them is an extremist, saying that this is a racist society. Inspector Wilson thinks it probably exists in the BBC as much as it exists anywhere else, and yet you're saying it just doesn't exist in the police.
No, I didn't say that at all.
You said there were one or two bad apples.
No, I didn't say that at all. Paul said that. I actually said there is racism in the police. You really must watch the tape.
Institutional racism is his
No,
point.
I don't agree with that. I don't see that. But there again, I'm not black. There is racism in the police. We take our police from society in general. Now, I've been a police officer for 37 years, and if you aimed a lot at the accusations at my generation, the 70s, early 80s, then I would have to put my hands up and say, yes, but society has changed, and we have changed with that society. I would say that today, and I'm very sad to hear what I'm hearing, because today I think we have a more caring society, and yet, allegedly, a more racist society. It's sort of underhand, it's undercurrent and everything else. I despair, because after 37 years, we don't seem to have moved on one iota.
Betty Campbell, what lessons do you think have been learned from the inquiry?
Well, one of the lessons I think that has been learned by black people is we've heard a lot about the dignity of Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence. What stands out with me is their tenacity, that they would not let go. They didn't have support in the beginning. They would not let go. And I'm afraid that too many black people, when something goes wrong, haven't always got the tenacity to say, right, I've been knocked down, but I'm coming back and I'm fighting again and again and again. And if there is any lesson to be learned for us as black people, it is to hold on. If you believe that something is wrong, then fight for it all the way. That's the lesson that I've learned from the Stephen Lawrence case.
And Mr. Lawrence, of course, I'd like to ask you what lessons you've learned from it.
Well, we've learned a hell of a lot of lessons, because at one stage before I was involved in this, I thought black people in this country was treated fairly. To our dismay, we learned, because in the early days, when my son was killed, I thought the police would have done what they were supposed to do. And 3 days after my son was killed, I had a liaison officer coming into my house and telling me that I was mad, because I tried to find out exactly what they were doing to catch the killers of my son, and trying to say to them, you need to act quickly to catch these people. And my thought was that because 5 people were involved in this murder, it would be easy to find these people, because as soon as you find one person, you would then find the other 4 or 5 who was involved.
And what have you learned from the inquiry?
I've learned from the inquiry that these people actually didn't want to catch the killers of my son, and they didn't try hard enough to make sure that these people who were responsible for my son's death were sent to prison.
Thank you all very much. And tomorrow morning's newspapers, the front pages there of The Independent leads with the news that apparently the inquiry, I don't know how they know this, the Lawrence verdict will be that the police were racist in the opinion of the writer in The Independent. A monster crime by Yeltsin, the burial of the Tsar and the Tsar's family. Staff car park places are going to cost £150 a year. That's on the basis of next week's transport white paper. 2 new judges have been appointed. The Guardian's not happy with them. Charles's birthday treat for Camilla in the Daily Mail, and who'd bugged Earl Spencer in the Daily Express, and Paris Stock Exchange is trying to rival London and Frankfurt, and Owen's ball apparently has been secured by the Sun. That's all from Newsnight tonight. I'll be back with more on Monday night. Until then, from all of us on the programme, good night.
Keep a lookout for Windrush. The season celebrating 50